Yo, yo. Welcome to the Off Base Podcast. The podcast carefully crafted to remind you to suck a fat one if you think you're the only one. Because you're not. I certainly am not the only one. My name is the Rocky Mountain no-name Jackass. It's 50 degrees outside in the city of Aurora at 7:46 in the a.m. on November 23rd, 2021. Time to get the chaw going. I don't like this brand. It says long cut on it, but it's fine cut. And for anybody, oh boy, here comes a cop. What if he's gonna do anything to me? I do have my hazards on, which is good. Nope, he just drove by. Yay! There's a sheriff too. All right, hang on. Ooh. So yesterday, I didn't post an afternoon version. I did one, but I didn't post it. I tried to leave out names and stuff when I'm doing these things. And yesterday, I accidentally slipped in a couple of names. Now, some people out there may be saying, well, hey, you jackass, which I am. You could have just edited it. Well, guess what? I don't have time to edit, man. I got a job, got 3 kids, a beautiful wife. And for right now, since I am a simple no-name jackass with no following, I don't have time to edit. So I just didn't upload the one that I had done yesterday. But today's a different story. Here we are, headed back to base. As we were driving here, my son was relaying some pretty cool information that I actually didn't know he was doing. I gotta blow my nose again, man. This Rocky Mountain air is dry. Gives me chapped lips and boogers galore. Oh, God. So my son was telling me, he's a 3rd grader, that one of the things that he's been doing, probably for the past couple months, is they've been going and helping out kindergartners. I think they may be like reading books with them or just doing little projects and whatnot. And the little 3rd grader that he's working with, hang on. Little third grader, my son's a 3rd grader. The little kindergartner that my son is working with goes by the name of Jory. I don't know. I am most likely old school and ignorant, but that seems like a very uncommon name. God. A lot to spit out this morning. And maybe I'm not old school, because when my stepson first heard the name, he was like, what? What kind of name is that? Of course, there's the view. It's a beautiful one this morning as well. Snow caps in the background. Very nice. And I heard the name, and I had the same reaction. I was like, what the hell? What kind of name is Jory? My stepson was funny. He was like, well, maybe they're Scandinavian. Maybe last name is Jorgensen. Jory Jorgensen. It's actually funny. I chuckled. But then I started to think a little bit. I was like, you know what? There's a large swath of the population that wants their children to be unique. Now, I do too, obviously. Probably everybody wants their child to be unique, but listen, I could be wrong on this, but I just don't think that you do that by giving him some fucked up name. There was one friend that we had. What the hell did they name their kid? It wasn't Cinnamon, but it was something along those lines, and they spelled it so fucked up. It was a name that typically started with an S, and they spelled it with a C, and instead of an I, they used a Y. You looked at it and you were like, what the fuck is that? And then they pronounced it for you, and you were like, oh, well, why didn't you just go with blah, blah, blah? Like I said, maybe I'm old school, but I had my 15-year-old stepson kind of seconding what the hell I was saying. But I just think if you want your child to be unique, don't fucking give them a name that people, number one, can't say, can't pronounce when they look at it. Teach them shit so that they make their mark on the world by what they do instead of what they're called. Now, don't get me wrong. I fucking love a good name when it comes to like a movie or whatnot. I mean, one of my favorite examples of that, like when a writer sits down and is crafting their story, particularly like a movie script, and you get to see these characters played out on the silver screen, and they are defined by what they do, then you can come back and you can tie in the symbolism associated with their name. Great example. Fucking love it. Crimson Tide, right? Crimson Tide. You got Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington. And if you're not familiar with the movie, highly recommend it. Especially if you like military strategy. There was a time, the movie came out, I think, in the 90s. And there was a time when authorization of nuclear weapons, not nuclear, authorization of nuclear weapons was charged to the President of the United States, one other person, I forgot who it was, and a captain of a United States submarine. U.S. submarine captains are no longer authorized to do that. I may be fucking that up. People who are more familiar with the movie may be able to detail that a little bit more. But the fact of the matter being is the submarine, they were given in order to launch their missiles. And then when they were getting ready to launch their missiles, they came under attack. And as the attack ensued, the attack cut out their radio transmissions, and they were receiving another message as the attack was happening that was cut off during the attack. Now, Denzel Washington's character, he was the executive officer on the boat. Gene Hackman was the captain. And he went by the name of Captain Ramsey. And Denzel Washington's character was Lieutenant Commander Hunter. And at the time that the movie came out, it was that threat of nuclear war that Denzel Washington's character was most concerned about. Because what he knew was that, look, as soon as we push that button, we just don't have nuclear war. We have nuclear holocaust. Large swaths of populations will be wiped out. As soon as we send one bird up in the air, they're going to send 5 in return. And then we send 10 in return. And then 20 in return. And it's just going to wipe the fuck out of the planet. This is what he knew. This is the strategy that was going on in his head. And because they had an incoming message that was cut off during the attack, well, shit, what he wanted to do was find out what that message said. Because if they were wrong and they launched, then nuclear holocaust would ensue. Now, the military at the time had procedures in place that if a message gets cut off during an attack, then you execute the previous message that you received. Well, something like this had never happened before. The previous message received was to launch nuclear weapons. So you can imagine the tension that was created on the boat, where you had Gene Hackman's character, who was simply observing protocols that are in place to keep our country safe. And and Denzel Washington's character, who was taking a more cerebral approach with things. And then you go back to their names. Gene Hackman's character, Captain Ramsey, like a ram, just driving forward, regardless of what's going on around you. You're given orders, you follow them. That breaks down, chain of command breaks down, and what the fuck do you need an Army and a Navy and an Air Force for, right? It makes total sense. But then you have Denzel Washington's character, Lieutenant Commander Hunter. What does a hunter do? A hunter is very cerebral about how they go about their attack. They need the correct position. They're checking the wind. They want to make sure not to scare the animal away. How close do they get? How close do you get before you shoot? All those kinds of things. Much more strategic in nature. So you end up watching the movie. You end up watching what they do, and then come back and reflect upon the symbolism involved in their names, and it's a nice tie-in. But to give them, a child a name, well, I don't know where I'm going with that. The fact of the matter being that the movie's awesome. I'll say one little aside on it as I make the turn off the highway. And the little aside that I have to say on it is that movie would have been fan-fucking-tastic with or without one tiny scene that they installed at the very end where they made Gene Hackman's character seem like a racist. It was the shittiest fucking line. Other than that line, I fucking love that movie. Because what you discovered as the story went on was that, all right, Denzel probably has this one right in the long run. But how do you convey that information to every single member on that submarine and still have them respect the chain of command? So both guys had extraordinary points that were very difficult to refute. But then at the end of the movie, they had Gene Hackman's character say a line that made him seem racist, and then all of a sudden, okay, now you're immediately siding with Denzel. And I just thought it was bullshit. All right, that's my little aside on that. But just to go back to the names, I wish that parents would focus on that more. And I'm not saying these parents who named their kid Jory aren't focusing on that, but it just seems like you're already trying to separate the kid and they haven't done anything yet. My name is Mark. Well, oh, there you go. Apparently I'm supposed to leave a mark somewhere. No, I'm not Mark. I'm a no-name jackass, right? Anyway, I got another nice view of the mountains coming in. It's beautiful. Teach your kids to do. It's funny too, because my psychology after that happened, right above my desk at home, I have a wall of stuff that my 8-year-old has brought home, like art and stuff. But the two older ones, they're teenagers now. They don't go to school with crayons in their backpack or glue sticks. Classes are different as you get older. But my stepdaughter, she takes an art class, and she just draws freehand in her spare time. There's a couple things and I've asked them, I'd be like, hey, if you guys have stuff that you've made, just bring it. Or if you have, papers that you bring home that are 100% perfect papers, I'll put them on my wall. And she's drawn me a couple things now. Both of them are really cool. But I post them on my wall because I want them to continue to do, not just to be. Getting all philosophical here this morning on November 23rd. It's a Tuesday, day before the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, which if you're a college kid or in your 20s, that's a hell of a day to go back to your hometown, boy, I'll tell you that much. Day before Thanksgiving is one of the drunkest days of the year. I would argue day before Thanksgiving is even more drunker. How you like that grammar? Than New Year's Eve or your birthday. Because you come back home and you see everybody that you got drunk with when you were growing up. So that party mindset comes right back into play. You see girls that you wanted to hook up with back in high school, back in college, back in the day. You see them again. They look even better because they're out of college and they dropped their freshman 50. They're back in shape. They're looking great. So you got all those hormones going. You got all the nostalgia going. I argue that the Wednesday before Thanksgiving is the drunkest day of the year, by far. All right, here we go. Turning on base. Again, always hoping to see the Moto Man first thing in the morning. We shall see. Moto is the man. And there you go. You know, that's the same stuff that I've been preaching since I started doing this little podcast. Find motivation. Motivation to do, not to be. You know, I was involved in community theater for 18 years. I was involved in over 80 productions in various capacities. Started out as an actor. I also did some, I played the piano, so if we were doing a musical and our pianist didn't show up for some reason, I would jump on the piano so that people could practice their songs, practice their dances. Then I quickly moved to directing. I fucking love directing. And ended up doing some writing and doing some producing as well. But as a director, let me tell you something. As I continue to go more and more, dive deeper and deeper into the craft, excuse me, there is a science and there is an art behind it. But nobody knows about the science. There is a way to teach your actors to become better actors through science. And what you do is you focus on the doing, not the being. A lot of people get into theater for therapy. Like they're trying to work shit out in their life and they think they're going to feel stuff on stage. So they try to force their feelings to come out when they're reading their lines. It's not how it works. Your feelings arise because of what you're doing or because of what someone is doing to you. You can't just turn them on and off like a light switch. That's an impossibility. That's not the way in which the human body works. Let me get scanned and then we'll continue with this discussion. Morning.
How you doing today, sir?
Quite well.
Have a great day.
Thank you. At any rate, when I would train my actors, I would train them to do. I would never train them to feel. I would never even talk about, what do you think your character's feeling at this point? I could give a shit. That's not the point. The point is to go out there and try to do something to the other person that you're on stage with. Try to make them do something. We've all done it. We can make people do stuff. It's all a matter of force of will, and that's what you have to train an actor to do. Force them to do something. There's a way that, you can take a line and try to make someone do something. Something as simple as, I don't know. I can't even think of a line. And I'm running out of time here because now here's Denver in the foreground and the mountains in the background. But I used to do an exercise with them, and I haven't done this in over a decade. But I used to do an exercise with my actors where I just give them one simple line from the script and tell them to do something with that line. Like, convince this person. Verbs, action verbs. Convince them. Make them. Get them to do something with just one line. And they could repeat it as much as they wanted. Something as simple as something like, get out of my face. Which sounds like, when you hear that line, that it should be said angrily. Everybody wants to default to anger. Look how angry I am. No. What are you trying to do to somebody? If you're trying to get them to leave the room, you tell them, get out of my face. And if they're still standing there, you can use your will, because what you want now is for them to do something. So you start taking action. Get out of my face. Get out of my face. And depending on how strong your will is, you'll get them to do it or you won't. And that's what makes for good acting. Moto Man wasn't there, but I have plenty to do today. Not only working, but then I got to pick up the kids a little bit early because we got to get back here to try on ski gear. We's going skiing, baby, for Thanksgiving break. And it's going to be awesome. And I got to continue to help my wife out, take the burden off her of packing up the kids. I'm going to do a lot of the packing today because she's a busy woman. And I don't want her to have to stress about all that other stuff. I actually just want her to get her clothes together. I'll pack them, and hopefully I'll have all the kids' stuff ready to go as well, so she didn't have to worry about any of it. And then I got to go get supplies, too, snacks and shit, and then we'll take care of business. So, I think that's it for the morning session, and I'll smell you this afternoon.